Hello boys and girls, welcome to my channel. I'm for Classic and welcome to BenchART. So for today what I do have in it is South of Midnight running on the RX 6700 XT. Keep in mind that this game, it is one of the first games that I did try on this GPU, but I saved it until now, so these recordings are quite old. They are still using older drivers, possibly even an older version of the game. But I honestly I don't expect that anything have changed. Probably not. So I decided to publish it today because I had it in here, kind of taking disk space, and I want to move on to other games. So yeah, that is that. So South of Midnight, it is still using Unreal Engine 4, which for some things it is great, some others it isn't really too great. So the great part about being an Unreal Engine 4 game is that it's not really that demanding. It doesn't rely on Lumen, it doesn't rely on Nanite. So yeah, it's easy to get to high settings without using any sort of upscaling while using the RX 6700 XT. And that's exactly my recommended setting. It is to play at 1080p high settings. I'm actually using textures on Ultra because I have the VRAM to spare. But even so, this game doesn't use too much VRAM, so it's okay if you want to use that Ultra with a 8GB GPU. So what you can expect with 1080p high settings, it is without any upscaling. It is to have an experience above than 100 frames per second, sometimes 80, sometimes 90. This first level of the game, it is a little bit of a worst case scenario. Okay, so which means that some other levels will run even better than that. But what does concern me, it is the 1% lows. This game have the typical Unreal Engine behavior, which is it has the tendency to micro stuttering from time to time, and because of that same reason the 1% lows are a little bit lower than the usual, but apart from that the frame rate it is quite good. South of Midnight, it wasn't really a very well received game. I saw many reasons for this. I don't really identify with any of them. So some people don't like the character. Some people don't like it because it's kind of a very bold black character. So some people are just racist. Some people just don't enjoy it, and it's not racism. Um, the character, it's not just the fact that I might be very simplistic in here. I'm saying, yeah, it's a black character, and some people don't like it. No, no, it has um, the way that she talks. It's sometimes a big barrier for some people, and yeah, I think the way I saw it, it was mostly that. The second thing, it is really what it focuses. So it focuses a lot in South mythology, US mythology, and some people don't actually enjoy it. The way I see it, it's pretty fun because it takes the thing in a funny way, and I do enjoy it because of that. And the third thing, one of the third things, I mean, the cutscenes are using stop motion. Some people don't think that it is well done. Um, in some part, I have to agree. Despite I can see the appeal to use something different, something artistic, the reality is that the stop motion animation, I think it could be better in that sense. It's not that I'm a fan, but even not being a fan of this type of stuff, I don't see it being properly done in this game, at least on these early moments of the game. And the fourth reason is that this is kind of almost a double A title, so it's nothing really great, and some people just don't like to lose time with games that it isn't really triple A stuff or super upper deeper great games. All right, and so I think that South of Midnight, for multiple reasons, it didn't got the attention of many people. Some people did enjoy it very much. Some other people have kind of prejudice, and some other people just don't enjoy the environment, the story, and everything. And I do fully understand that. What I don't enjoy is the 30 frames per second lock, which completely ruins my benchmarks in here. So this is now 1080p using ultra settings, and there is a big difference when it comes to performance between high settings and ultra. High settings, it is very easy to run above than 60, although ultra, it does struggle a lot to keep up to 60. So despite, like I said, this is kind of a worst case scenario, and most of the other levels are just fine. I want to focus on the worst case scenario because I just played like throughout 1 hour and some things, and I'm not really sure how the rest of the game will perform, so I need to pick up the worst case scenario and use it as a reference for future levels. And unfortunately, ultra settings, it just can't hold on to 60. Alright, the 1% lows are pretty bad. You can see really very big spikes in there. So I wouldn't recommend to play at ultra unless you have a variable refresh rate screen. In case you have it, you can try to go with ultra. I'm going to assume that it won't be any issue. Probably don't even feel any stutter or frame rate issues, but for some reason the frame times are entirely broken in this game. That's the bad part of Unreal Engine 4, because it's something that it's easy to be seen. But yeah, that's why I said that for me 1080p high settings with textures on ultra seems to be the best option for me. But in case you are using a variable refresh rate screen, possibly you can get away with 1080p ultra settings. So let's move on to something higher like 1440p. So my favorite setting for 1440p, well, it is the same as 1080p. So the difference is so big in between high and ultra that if you intend to play at 1440p using high settings, it still does provide an experience above than 60. So yeah, that's my recommended experience, my recommended settings, I mean, for 1440p. It is for you to actually play the game with the high settings, and by doing this, yes, you won't be getting like 100 frames per second for the most part on these areas, on these first moments of the game, but you will have a very comfortable experience above than 60. So as you can see, we are having in here around 70 to 80 in this beginning of the storm. And if we progress a little bit more forward, let's get to this demanding sequence. The most demanding moment I did found is when our character, Hayes I guess, starts to run and jump above the roof of the house. That was the most demanding moment I did found out on this test that I did conducted. For some reason that moment is demanding. I don't understand why, but it is. And so in this moment in here you can see the game dropping down to 58, 59, and it just stays there to 56. But I mean, that's really the worst case scenario. The rest of the levels, like I said, it doesn't perform like this. So I'm having like 66, 67 in here. And outside of this level, it even performs better. Okay. So I don't think that will be an issue. I would still keep and recommend 1440p high settings despite those drops that I did show to you. And I guess that's about it. And in case you have any issue with the performance, my recommendation would be for you to use kind of a TAAU or FSR to its quality mode and enjoy the game with a perfect locked 60 frames per second. Okay, so 1440p maximum settings in here. I just wanted to see how it does perform, given that at 1080p I was having around 50s or some things. At 1440p we are actually getting around 40, so we didn't actually lose that much for some reason. It's very acceptable. The difference is 1080p ultra settings, you can actually get away with a variable refresh rate screen, but at 1440p I think performance it is much worse to a point that I don't think that it is a valid setting if you want to use variable refresh rate screens. Probably it's a good candidate if you have a 120Hz monitor and lock the game to 40, or even lock the game to 30 if you have a, I don't know, 60Hz monitor and you want to lock to 30, it's a good idea. If you have 144Hz screen and you find some tool to lock at 1/3 of a refresh, it could be actually very cool. But to use as a variable refresh rate screen, I don't think it will work. So 1440p maximum settings, it is possible, but it's kind of a 30 frames per second type setting that you use to play. Alright, so since we are at the most demanding moment, after this finishes up, I will switch up to 4K. Okay, and here it is. And again, a lot of frame time issues in here. So for 4K, my recommended settings, it is to use the median settings. I will be using TAAU on its balanced mode, which is essentially upscaling from, let me do the math, I think it's around 1200 or something like that. But in reality, using balance, yeah, it is 1231p upscale to 4K. I think it's a very respectable um, internal resolution. If it was today in my newest tests, I wouldn't use TAAU on its balanced mode. To be honest, I would use the performance mode. Since upscaling from 1080p to 4K, it is very respectable, even when using another algorithm as TAAU. Alright, so with balance, I'm having in here an experience above than 60, 70, 72, which is, don't get me wrong, it is pretty good results, but I'm actually very eager to see what's the performance when jumping to the house, because I'm already having about 58. Frame times are all over the place in here, as expected, but when jumping up to the house, well, it just drops down to 50. I would probably I'm so sorry. I would probably drop down to performance mode, and I think that should be enough to have a 60 frames per second mode. Nowadays, when I do use median settings at 4K, I do target performance upscaling like FSR performance or TAAU performance. But on this case, back then, I used to use balance, and I don't think we need as much resolution. So if you have a 4K screen, just go with median settings, TAAU performance at 60, to walk at 60. But don't get me wrong, if you want to play with a variable refresh rate screen or you don't care about the drops, TAAU balanced with median settings seems to do quite well for that. So my last setting for 4K, it will be high settings, and yeah, that's that, without any sort of upscaling in here. I'm having an experience above than 30 frames per second. Frame times are all over the place as usual, and yeah, performance is quite dead on the red line, let me just say that, because I was seeing about 35, 36, so it doesn't seem to be ideal. I would probably use upscaling in here. I would use probably TAAU in its quality mode, which is essentially upscaling from 1440p to 4K. I'm pretty sure that would grant a very big improvement in frame rate. And on this area, if I had to guess, I'm going to assume that the frame rate can drop below 30 frames per second during that jump to the house moment, since we are already having about 31, 34. So jumping to the house, I'm really expecting it to drop under than 30, and yeah, it does. 27, 28 in here. Um, Despite it is okay, don't get me wrong, to have kind of a drop or two in the most demanding moments. I don't think we really need that. Upscalers at 4K are actually very good because they have a lot of information to feed the algorithm. So I would upscale definitely to TAAU quality or FSR quality, whatever floats your boat, and lock the game at 30 or something like that if it is your intention to play with these settings. So with this, I don't think I have too much more to talk about stuff of Midnight. I already talked a little bit about why people didn't actually enjoy the game. And let me just refer this again. Um, I don't really agree with many of the stuff that have been said about the game. Although it doesn't mean that I actually enjoy it. So with this, I'm going to finish up this video. I'm very sorry for the cough and my voice. I'm a little bit I'm having a little bit of an issue with the flu in here, so I'm trying to solve it out, and I had to cut a lot this kind of chat because of that, because I coughed a lot. So I'm trying to treat this, and yeah, I guess that's all that I want to talk about again about South of Midnight. Hope you keep enjoying the rest of the gameplay, and I do hope to see you soon. Goodbye.
What was that? I must be seeing things. Okay, can't give up now.